Hey guys, this is AI Gaming 1776 and we are going to play Forza Horizon 3 with a 980 Ti, and this is going to be a live demonstration. That means it's not going to be edited. I'm talking to you while I play the game. I also have had bronchitis for the last 3 weeks, so it's going to possibly be a struggle for the both of us to get through this, but hopefully it'll be alright. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off with how to get 1080p 60 frames per second in the game. So these are going to be called the best settings for playing at 1080p. That's 1080p 60 FPS. Now, I will turn VSync off and on throughout the course of the video, and I'll show you the card can actually get higher than 60 FPS, but you may have heard by now the game stutters, and we'll talk about that. So to save my voice, I'm not going to call out these settings. You can just pause. All right, so those are the settings. I started at the Ultra preset, and then I basically had to turn almost everything off of Ultra, to be honest. But we did get to keep MSAA times 2, and we are still going to get 60 FPS. Again, I've got bronchitis, and we are going to try to get through this because I'm an idiot. All right, so first we're going to do the 1080p 60 FPS demo, and the real test is going to be this race here. As a matter of fact, I have not made 100% sure that I can even get through this race and keep even near 60 FPS. The 980 Ti has been a weird little card, so this is something of a live benchmarking in addition to just being a demonstration. For some reason, I've had to turn the settings down really low with the 980 Ti, lower than I was expecting to maintain the 60 FPS. Here, let me give you a general idea really quickly. I was going to wait to turn off VSync, but I'll turn it off now. Let me go over here. Oh, by the way, this is with the 980 Ti, not overclocked. Mine runs at 1380 megahertz out of the box, okay, with no overclock. I also intend to show you guys and overclock throughout the course of this video, okay? Because what we'll do is we'll look at that high frame rate, 80s and 90s, although it just jumped down to the 60s and right back up to the 90s and stuttered really hard. That's what this game does. It has huge frame rate fluctuations. Anyway, I'll be overclocking the card. Again, we're at about 1380 megahertz, and we can actually get about 1480 megahertz, really about 1485. So what we're going to do is we're going to try this race. We're going to have VSync on to try to get the 60 FPS. All right, we're almost to the race. Well, I thought we were, but I was looking at that CR, but we're not too far, I don't think. So let's get over here to this race. And as you can see, the frame rate with these settings is really high. The problem is it stutters. Now, I've done a trick that helps with the stuttering, and it does involve using VSync, and I'll link to the video in the description of this. I will link to that video. Furthermore, what I'm probably going to try to do, as long as I don't have a coughing fit throughout this video, is I'm probably going to try to turn on NVIDIA's DSR and then try to show you guys 1440p also, because I'm actually recording with a separate computer. That way we can see how the game really performs without me recording the game. Because even though people tell you that shadow play doesn't hit the frame rate that much, it still affects performance. It doesn't affect performance very much for a free piece of software, that's true. And if all you care about is the average frames per second, then it's not too bad to use shadow play. But for what I do, I discuss how games perform, 100% how they perform, including stuttering and how smooth it feels, things like that. So I have to use a second computer to do that properly, or even a camcorder. To be honest with you, when I use a camera, that's the easiest way to do it. It's the least glitchy way to do it. But I know a lot of people prefer higher quality footage to look at. Here's the thing. I get that, and I hear you people, but when I use a camera, trust me, I'm doing it for a good reason. It's usually because I'm trying to capture 4K footage or 1440p, or more importantly, high frame rate. Right now, the separate computer, you can't really capture high frame rate. It's capped at 60. So as you can see, we're not going to keep a perfect 60 FPS, but this is really good. If you're one of the people who's been using a 980 Ti and the game's been stuttering for you, Like, look, I got all these cars. We're in the middle of this race. This is a race where if I don't do all my tricks, and remember, I'm going to link you to a video that shows you how I dealt with the stuttering. But if I don't do all of my tricks to deal with the stuttering and turn the settings down, then yeah, even with a 980 Ti, I get crazy stuttering. And you know, it's not fair. I get it. Because again, let's go to settings. Let's turn off VSync. Now remember, right now during this race, it's not stuttered whatsoever. But let's turn this off. Okay, so VSync is off now. And 68, 82. It's going to be kind of hard for me to race and look at the frame rate counter. 79, 80. So you're cutting a good 15 to 20 frames per second, or even 10 to 20 because it just went down to 70, 71. But you're cutting a good 10 to 20 frames per second off by using VSync and using these tricks. But you also get to play the game without stuttering, because it does stutter unless you go through all the things that I show. And it still even stutters, even with all these tricks that I employ in the game. It still stutters a little bit, but it's completely playable. It's not even bad. I almost don't want to say that, because I still want Microsoft and Turn 10 and Playground Games to fix this, right? I don't want them to think that just because there's a workaround that they're off the hook. Because to be honest with you, this card can almost run the game at Ultra. A lot of people will probably say it can, and I'll show you. I'll actually overclock the card. What I'll do after this race is I will turn it on to Ultra, and then you got to restart the game anyway, and I'll overclock the card. And then I'll show you. It can more or less do Ultra at 1080p. It's not perfect. I mean, I wouldn't play that way. I would turn a couple things down. But you still get some stuttering then. So I would like them to fix it so you can turn the settings up, enjoy higher settings. Oh yeah, I normally have the windshield wipers on. Whoa, bad entry. Trying to talk and drive. You know, I'll just rewind as far as I can so you can see some more windshield wiper action. I don't know how far I can rewind. I'm just going to do one or two more. That's good enough. All right. So anyway, I want them to fix it. I would like to be able to turn the settings up. I would like to not have to cap it at 60 FPS. See, my theory is that in its launch state, in the state that the game launched in, this game, and I screwed this up again, this game hates 144 hertz monitors, or more directly, it hates any monitor that is not 60 hertz. I figured this out because I could get the game to play perfectly in 1080p 60 FPS on a TV, but I couldn't on my gaming monitors. And I have really nice, really expensive gaming monitors. Matter of fact, my 1440p monitor costs more than my 4K TV. You know, and if you look on stores right now, you look on websites, you'll see that a really good 1440p monitor does in fact, I'm so stupid, does in fact cost more than some halfway decent 4K TVs. And I have a halfway decent 4K TV. It's a Samsung. So anyway, it was stuttering like crap on my gaming monitors, but it played perfectly on my TV. And that's what got me to figuring it all out. Like I said, I got a link to a video. Now, you might not have any stuttering problems, and if you don't, that's cool. You won't need that video. And you know what? Like, I'm really happy for you if you don't have to employ the tricks and you don't have to turn your settings down. There are people who are swearing that they're playing the game in Ultra and keeping 60 FPS with a 980 Ti, with a 1070, things like that. I happen to have most of the cards from the last two generations. I've got a 1060, a 1080, I have four 1070s, two 980 Ti's, two 960s, and a 970. So whenever people say that they're getting a certain amount of performance in my comments, believe me, I go check. All right, so anyway, I'm just doing this so you can see. Remember, we have settings turned down, but this is still very beautiful, very smooth. All right, very beautiful, very smooth. Here's the settings one more time. 1920 by 1080p, VSync is on, capped at 60 FPS. See, we got lows and mediums, but look, we got MSAA on. So there you go. These are the settings, 1080p, 60 FPS. Go watch my other video. that shows you. I can just tell you now, if you're on a 144 hertz monitor, make a custom resolution for 60 FPS. All right. And then use these settings and you should more or less be fine. One last trick is to go into your task manager and assign this game a low priority. Some people say high priority, low priority worked better for me, but maybe high priority will work better for you. High priority works sometimes for me. Low priority works sometimes for me, but it works more often. All right. I know I've spent a lot of time talking about the stutter, but if you're watching a performance video about this game, hopefully you're wanting to learn, right? So I'm trying to help you out. At this point, I've spent over 20 hours testing this game with a lot of different graphics cards on a lot of different monitors with a lot of different CPUs. All right, so we're on the Ultra preset, okay? Save and continue. Get on out of here, exit the desktop. So here's where we're going to overclock the card because I did choose Ultra and the game does have stuttering problems. All right, so what I do is I max out the power limit and the temp, and then I put plus, I think it's 90 on this card. I forget. I've been overclocking a lot of cards lately, and then 100 on memory. I don't know how much I can put on this, to be honest with you. I'll try 150 and see if the game crashes. I'll try 150. Now, I do have a custom fan profile, so we're going to use that, and we're actually going to bump the fan up a little bit. We're going to give this puppy as much of a chance as we can. This is a loud fan. I'm going to stick with 65. I'm going to tell everything that we're good. All right, so now we're going to restart the game. Hold on, let me turn up my case fans too. I'm trying to give this game, you know, like everything we can throw at it with this 980 Ti. Now ignore this. I don't know why. Oh man, I didn't turn on the 1440p. I'll timestamp this. We're gonna actually, yeah, it'd be better to quit the game before we turn on DSR. That would probably be a better idea. This game runs in windowed mode. I could probably activate DSR while the game's running, I would almost think, because I haven't seen anything I can't do with this game yet, right? Like anything I've tried to do while it runs, because look, watch, I'll move the mouse around down here. See, this game runs in windowed mode. So, all right, we chose settings. Let me see what it's going to do. Okay, all right, good. So it's real ultra. It's not that dynamic ultra. It's real ultra. Let's see how it plays. Yeah, I had meant to, when I overclocked, enabled DSR. If I've been calling it VSR, I apologize. VSR is what AMD uses. All right, so game's loading. It can be slow sometimes. That actually wasn't too bad. There goes the fans. They just kicked on. See, what I do, you know, give away my secrets here. I go ahead. I've learned how GPU boost works with NVIDIA cards. And I go ahead and have the fans kick up to a high speed early, right? That way I can prolong my gaming session. Because, you know, the hotter your card gets, the less overclock there is. Hey, look at that. We're still at 60, 58. I actually wasn't counting on this because earlier when I tried this, I could not keep 60 at Ultra. 58. Well, you know what we're going to do? We're going to go to that race again. I can go to the Surf City or whatever it's called. It's up here. Surfer's Paradise. I know a lot of people have been 55, 54 frames per second. I know a lot of people have been 53 frames per second. I was going to say, it did not keep 60 on Ultra earlier. 50. It just went down to 50. I knew it did not do that earlier. 52. Yeah, so we are still getting stutters and pretty big frame drops, but it's on the Ultra preset. 49 frames per second. We don't even have to do that race. Like, it's very clear we're not going to keep 60. But let's turn off VSync and see how well that does. All right. See, not too great. 61, 62. Now remember, my case fans are on maximum speed. This is a 980 Ti classified with big giant ball bearing fans on it. I think they're like 90 millimeter fans, two of them on a graphics card. Yeah, we're barely in the 60 FPS neighborhood. It's kind of hard for me to drive and look at that frame rate counter at the same time. Yeah. So you can, as you can imagine, like if you're racing, here we're gonna fast travel to Surfer's Paradise. Nope, nope. Sorry. Come on. Here we go. Fast travel has been pretty quick for me, so you're not going to have to worry about a big long loading screen. See? Now I'm using an i7 4790, 16 gigabytes of DDR3 RAM at 1866 megahertz. I do have another test. Actually, I have like 5 test systems. So this is my everyman system. This is my 52 frames per second. This isn't really much of a lower frame rate than what we were getting before. But maybe if we were in a race over here, 47 here. Let me get into a race and see what that looks like. See if that gives a lower frame rate. So yeah, Ultra's probably out of the question. I mean, if you just want to have a hassle-free, it still looks good, right? Those settings I had earlier, yes, some of them were low, some of them were medium. Really, nothing that mattered was on low. Like motion blur was on low, but nothing that mattered was on low. Some stuff was on medium, but it was still good looking. You guys saw that. And really, yeah, Ultra does look better, but it's not worth it for the stutters and the problems with the frame rate. Let me start this race and I'll go back into telling you about my test systems. All right, so let's go into here. Setup event. Okay, this chick's going to talk to me. I can't hear what she's saying. All right. I guess I'll do championship. Ooh. Do I have a proper car? Well, what is even happening? You know what? I'm going to drive this car. This was a free car that was given to me. I've not tuned it. I've not painted it. I've never driven it. But for the sake of this video and testing the frame rate, I'm just going to get in it. All right, so this is my everyman system. A 4790 non-K, 16 gigabytes of DDR3, 1866 megahertz RAM. I got a big old Noctua cooler on it, so it's usually like 48, 54 degrees. What else? I'm in a mid-tower case. This is kind of a good, solid i7 system that's middle of the road. I'm sure somebody out there has an overclocked 6600K system that could beat this. Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. I have a 4690K, and I don't know. I mean, I haven't really seen the 4690K be much better than the 4790, and my 4690K is overclocked, right? So take that with a grain of salt. All right, 48 frames per second for the race, 51 frames, 50. Yeah, I can see. Ooh, what people are saying. Although we didn't do the race at the other part of the map, for all I know, the frame rate would have been just as low there. I just know people are reporting that they've had trouble in Surfer's Paradise, and maybe I'm not even running the right race that corresponds where people are having trouble. I'm not sure. Let me know in the comments if there's some other race that does even worse than this. Let me know, and I'll update the description box. It looks like we're racing at dusk, and we're going to get some nighttime lighting and stuff like that. See, what they do is they have instances in this game where as you race, like they have very specific times a day. So let's say it's like nighttime and raining, and you start a race, but they want you to see the race like in the morning. They'll switch it to morning and turn the rain off and all that. So I have a feeling that this particular race, they specifically, as you race through this section, they want the lights to come on, and you're driving through a city. So there's going to be street lights, and there's going to be skyscrapers, and so on and so on. Once it gets a little bit darker, I'll turn on the cockpit view so you guys can check that out. It's stuttering itself to death. I think maybe because we left the pack of cars. The frame rate is higher right now, because if you notice, it's well above 60. Well, I think it could be that and the fact that it's nighttime. You know, like a lot of games perform worse during the day. Like if you're in a situation where the game plus the graphics card equals performance problems, you can usually see worse performance during the day. So I think a combination of being at the front of the pack plus it being daytime. I don't want to lose this race. I mean, I'm tempted to let these guys catch up, but I've never driven this car before. I'm on default difficulty setting. I didn't like put it down to baby settings, but I also didn't change the settings either, I don't think. Actually, I might have done one thing to make the game a little more difficult. Because I seem to remember doing something that boosted my reward at the end of a match, but I can't remember. Anyway, it's more or less in the neighborhood of the beginning difficulty. But see, the frame rate's like smoking now. You know what? For the sake of science, I'm going to go ahead and jeopardize my chances of winning this race. Okay, so the frame rate's in the 60s now, and it was in the 70s and 80s. So I think it is these cars. But I don't know. I mean, this is not a very good control. This is not definitive proof. I just have a hunch, right? Call it a hunch. All right, let's see. Look at that. Look at the reflections on the hood. Bam. All right, so you saw the best settings that I showed you earlier, and that was without the card overclocked, and that was on purpose so that there would be like a fighting chance of anyone watching this video being able to get good performance. Like, let's say you've got a 980 Ti that's not a good overclocker. Oh, third place. What a scrub. We're going to have to redo this race. All right, so I'm debating, for the sake of keeping the video short, it's already 22 minutes long. For my videos, 22 minutes actually is not that long. Anybody that's watched my videos knows that. I wanted, you know what? I could just do a separate video for 1440p. I don't know if you guys would appreciate that. I'm just trying to decide because now that I've overclocked it, I kind of want to see how far I can push the settings. Right? That's basically the gist. Now that I've overclocked it. Let me see how far I can push the settings in this video. I might do 1440p too and make it long only because, and I'll timestamp it. Here's the thing. It's late at night for me. And my kids are quiet right now, but so, you know, they might have to use the bathroom or something in the middle of the recording, and I don't edit, and so I don't know if I'm going to get through 2 videos, but I think I might be able to squeeze this all in one. We'll see. We're going to play it by ear. We're going to play it cool. Old AI's got bronchitis, and it's late at night, and we're just, like I said, it's going to be a little bit rough, but we're going to get through it. All right, so what to do? All right, so we're at Ultra. Some of you might be okay with this. If you have a G-Sync monitor, this might even be okay. Although there's not a lot of 1080p G-Sync monitors out there. So let's do shadow down, motion blur to low. Let's try leaving environment quality on ultras. Okay, so here's these three here. Environment texture quality, static geometry quality, and dynamic geometry quality. All 3 of these play a pretty big role. Okay? You only get 2 choices with this one, the static, high, and medium. All it really seems to do is add like some tessellation to the buildings and stuff. Most of the time you're driving past them. Now the dynamic geometry, you can read over there. It affects draw distance and detail of dynamic geometry, changing this setting. I think I had it on high earlier. We're not going to be too different from the settings we started out this video with if I change too much though. Alright, so I guess to push it, we're going to keep environment textures up. Static is medium, dynamic. I don't know. We're going to put MSA times 2 for sure. Okay, so dynamic geometry, this is the one where I'm second guessing. I'm going to put that on high. Okay, so I'm going to turn FXA off. Reflection is still on ultra. I think it was on ultra at the start of the video. Windshield reflection on high. Mirror quality on high, which I think that was on high at the start of the video, and this was at medium. And then world car detail was at high at the start of the video. We're going to leave it at ultra. We're going to see we're going to see if the overclock helps is what we're doing. All right. It didn't tell me to restart the game. Oh, but it might. Okay, it's... There we go. Yep. There we go. All right. All right, then. Let's restart the game. And while it's... Oh, you know what we can do? Check this out. We could see... Hey, we... Oh, yeah, because we overclocked it. I was like, how did it get up to 1480? Because we overclocked it, idiot. All right, so it got up to 1480, which is what I said it would get up to. 1482, actually. VRAM. A staggering 4.6 gigabytes of VRAM. What else? Well, that's not staggering. That was Ultra, so that's fine. All right. CPU usage, not even that high, really. Like this spike here was probably when we started the game. All right. System RAM under 8 gigabytes. Okay, then. Restart the game, and then I will get a drink of water. Not going anywhere. I'm just going to drink some water. I forgot to enable DSR again. However, if I was going to do it, if I was going to do 1440p, I would definitely need to lower the settings. Even lower than what we're doing now. Hold on, I'm actually going to mute the microphone. I need to cough for real. So... Alright, we're just going to keep swimming. It's like Finding Nemo. Just keep swimming. Anyway, how do I like the game? In case you're curious, I like it. I like it enough that I've dealt with a lot of hassle to get the game to quit stuttering. And I don't know, people on the internet are very interesting. Would you mind if I talk to you about how interesting people on the internet are? I would like to talk to you about that. So I spent about 15 hours trying to figure out how to get the stuttering to stop. Because I paid $100 for the game. I really like the game. And to be honest with you, because pretty much all UMP titles, where's that race at? So we can do it again. All right, I'll turn back around to the race in a minute. So, see, these are the with the new higher settings. Well, they're lower than these settings are higher than the start of the video, but they're lower than Ultra. Oh, it just stuttered. But here's the frame rate we're getting. It's stuttering, though. Keep that in mind. I'm about to turn off VSync, though. We'll turn it on, actually, and see if that helps. We may have to turn the settings down, to be completely honest with you. So let's turn on VSync, and then let's talk about how interesting people on the internet are. Come on. Control yourself. That seems like a pretty solid 60 FPS. I mean, we'll see what it looks like during the race, though. Alright, so I spent 15 hours, 3 graphics cards, 3 CPUs, 2 144 Hz monitors, a 60 Hz monitor, a 60 Hz TV, another 60 Hz TV, testing this game with HDMI and testing it with DisplayPort, trying to figure out how to get rid of the stutter. So I like the game well enough to do that. Now I go through all that effort, and then I make a video very clearly showing that I have helped improve the frame rate, yada yada yada. The game's playing better. And people want to argue because they saw another video that says, oh, all you got to do is turn off MSAA. And that doesn't fix it. So I've got one video where I'm just showing the stutter. I got a 6700K system, 4.7 gigahertz. I'm showing the stutter. So 6700K, 4.7 gigahertz, 16 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM, 3200 megahertz on that. And then a GTX 1080 superclock that's overclocked to right around 2000 megahertz. And I'm showing the game stutters on that. And I turned off MSAA. And I was like, hey, see, turning it off doesn't fix it. But people want to argue. People who don't even own the game want to argue. It's like, let me get this straight. You don't own the game. You've not done 15 hours of testing with all this different hardware. And you're going to tell me I'm wrong because you saw a YouTube video from someone else, which by the way, oh, look how perfect that 60 FPS is. So by the way, if you want to get your salt shakers out, you want to talk about some salt that I got for other YouTubers. I've been reporting the stuttering this game does since it launched, since the night that it launched. So Thursday night in my country. And nobody really started talking about it until Monday. And I asked in some of my videos, I was like, there's professional YouTubers who got this game a week before I did. And I was like, how did you play this game for a whole week before me and not know that it stutters? And some of these same professional YouTubers are now talking about the stutter. And I'm like, dog, you had the game for a week. Now, if the stutter is tied to Microsoft's DRM for the game, you know, maybe server load, because this is an always online game. So maybe server load affects it, and maybe the reviewers that used the game for a week prior to it coming out, maybe there was no real server load because it was just reviewers playing the game. So maybe it played fine for them. And maybe the stutter didn't manifest until the servers got overloaded. That might have happened. I don't know. But I was like, how is it? Like, literally, if you searched on Twitter on launch night, Forza Horizon 3 and stutter, I was the only person on all of Twitter talking about the stutter. And then the next morning, Friday morning, I go on YouTube and I search Forza Horizon 3 stutter, which, by the way, we just now went down to 55 FPS for the first time. Here, let me go to that first race and see if it stutters more there than it does here. 'Cause that off-road race, let me try that out. So anyway, I bet I have to fast travel to the hub. Yeah. Okay, so we fast travel here. It's not that far. And it doesn't take that long to load up. So Thursday night, the game comes out. I'm literally the only person saying the game stutters that I can find when I search. Because I thought other people were getting it to stutter too. And then I wanted them to actually, like, if they got it to stop stuttering, I wanted them to tell me how to make it stop. And no one was talking about it. So Friday morning, I look on YouTube. I'm trying to find a video to help me get, wow, 48. Did y'all see that? 48 frames per second. I'm trying to find a video to help me figure out how to get rid of the stuttering. And I literally only find like 4 videos on all of YouTube Friday morning talking about the stuttering. So at that point I was mad. So Friday night I put a video up. Now, granted, I had known about the stuttering and talked about the stuttering since Thursday. There's the turn. That turn always tricks me. Thursday night, but I didn't get a video up till Friday night. Now it's Tuesday. So the game came out Thursday. Now it's Tuesday. Now you search and all kinds of people are saying it's stuttering. Now to be fair, people in the forums were definitely saying the game was stuttering from like day one. All right. But I found it very shocking that no one on Twitter was talking about it, or YouTubers weren't talking about it, or reviewers didn't mention it. Like, the whole thing was very baffling to me. Anyway, I digress. Oops. And I turn around. So let's see how this race handles. 34 minutes. Oh my God. I just shoot myself in the foot with the links of these videos. I really do. You know, if I edited my videos, see, what I could do is I could edit the videos. I could do this video in 3 minutes. And I could say, hey, do this and it stutters. Do this and it doesn't stutter. These are the best settings. These are And you know what happens? The comments would be full of people saying, well, what about this? What about this? What about that? What about this? What driver were you using? Well, If you paid attention when I overclocked the card, you would have seen the driver that I'm using. They would have like a million questions. In my videos, I'm trying to answer literally every question that someone could think of. I don't always succeed, but I'm trying to. I'm trying to anticipate your needs. I'm trying to anticipate the questions you might ask. And I'm also demonstrating, because here's the thing, man. If I was smart, these videos would be 3 minutes, and I would just let the comments fill up with questions. And then you know what I would do? I'd make another video. Because believe it or not, if you want to know how to make money on YouTube, that's how you do it. I'm trying to make a 980 Ti performance demonstration video. We're like, hey, do you want to see how it does on Ultra? Do you want to see how it does with the best settings? Do you want to see how it does when the card is overclocked? Do you want to see how it does when the card is not overclocked? Do you want to see how it does when VSync is on? Do you want to see how it does when VSync is off? I am trying to show you everything in one conclusive video that you can come back to. Let's say you watch this video today, and for whatever reason, a week from now, you want to watch it again. You just come back to my 980 Ti video. Everything's here. Like, I already tried to answer most of the questions that you would have. And if you ask questions nicely in the comments, I will probably answer them in the comments too, right? Like, I'm here to help you. Now, that's me trying to be a helpful dude. But guess what? There's no money in being a helpful dude. You know where the money is? The money is I make a video where I say, hey, this is the average frames per second. And then people are going to, in the comments, be like, well, did it stutter? Did you try VSync? Did you turn VSync off? Did you use HDMI? Did you use DisplayPort? One of the best ones is you do the Ultra preset and someone's going to ask you, well, what's it do on the medium preset? Like, people want to know that stuff, right? So if I want to make money, this is the trick to making money. So the more people comment on my video, the more relevant my video is. So here's how like the YouTube secret sauce works, okay? YouTube has robots try to figure out how relevant the video is. The more people comment, the more people subscribe, the more people like it or even dislike it, the more relevant YouTube's robot thinks my video is. And then that makes YouTube's robot want to suggest this video to more people, okay? So now I get more views. It's like this vicious circle. So what I could do, there's a lot of people who aren't even going to watch this video because it's going to be at least 40 minutes long. So what I can do is make a 3-minute video, barely give you any information, just barely any information whatsoever, let you ask all your questions in the comments, and then I can make new videos piggybacking off of that, and then I'll comment in the comments myself, and I'll say, hey, blah, blah, blah. This is, you asked about this, so I made a video. And now you're watching 2 of my videos. Oh, and here's the other thing that helps with deciding how relevant my video is. This is a 40-minute video. If you watch, like 2 minutes, I was going to say 2, that's why I stuttered. Let me turn off VSync. So let's say, and by the way, that race was more or less 60 FPS. That race in Surfer's Paradise was more or less 60 FPS. So we are a mostly 60 FPS experience right now. Matter of fact, I'm just going to go nuts. I'm going to go nuts, and I'm going to do the 1440p. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to do it in this video. Actually, I don't think I can pick 1440p, but let's see. No. All right. Let's enable DSR. If you don't know how to do that, you right click on your desktop, you go to the control panel, then you go to manage 3D settings, which is up here. It takes a second. Then this thing, I grabbed this to drag it up and down, because if you scroll with your mouse wheel, you can accidentally change settings and not realize that you've done it, and it can be an issue. All right. Oh crap. Did I already? Oh no, of course the smoothness factor would actually be off because I haven't picked any yet. Got it. No. Come on, be smart. I just pick all of them. I'm having trouble with the mouse right now. I don't know why. Maybe I need to charge it. It's a wireless mouse. I game with a controller. So all I need the mouse for is to navigate my computer's UI. Okay, yeah, DSR smoothness is at 33%. That's where I was thrown off earlier. All right, restart the game. So, believe it or not, there's more money in YouTube to make videos that are really not that informative. There's more money for me to make if I'm less informative. I know it sounds counterproductive, but it's true. I don't know. It's super frustrating. See, I was in the military and we were real big on good information, bad information, and we were also, there's a state of mind where you do the job to task. Okay? You can do it to task, you can do it to time, you can do it to money. Those are three factors you can choose. All right? Here, let me start this. This is going really slowly. I apologize. We're going to go 1440. Accept. Okay, so I'll give the disclaimer here in a minute. Let this load up. Because I'm about to give the timestamp. Some people will only care about 1440p. I almost think 1440p should get its own video. I think I'll do a second video where 1440p gets its own video. Maybe. We'll see how much different it is than 1080p. The thing is a lot of people have been reporting that there's not been a big difference between 1080 and 1440. Although I kind of call BS on that, and we're about to find out. Remember, we had a perfect 60 FPS, more or less, at 1080p with these exact same settings. So if that's the case, we should have a good frame rate now. All right, here we go. Right, we're 1440. We better be. Yep. All right. 42 minutes. 42 minutes. We're going to call it 43 minutes. 43 minutes. Yep, it's going to be 43 minutes in when the 1440p demo starts. Let's see. Let's get actually on the road. Let's get it back on VSync so we can have 60 FPS. And there we go. 43 minutes and 15 seconds. Hey guys, this is AI Gaming 1776, and if you just skipped ahead to see 1440p, we've obviously had a long discussion about 1080p, YouTube, and gaming in general. So you might want to check that out. Or if you just want to see how the game performs at 1440p, you can see that too. Alright, there went a little bit of a stutter. We are using an overclocked 980 Ti. It's performing at about it's performing at about 1482 megahertz. That's 1482 megahertz. And although the frame rate counter in the upper right hand corner is not saying that the game is stuttering, I still felt it. So even though there wasn't like a big fluctuation and it looked like a solid 60, I still felt it a little bit. These are the settings we're using. These are actually the exact same settings that we could use at 1080p when it was overclocked. And the settings are kind of low. I'm sure some of you will think these settings are low, but there they are. These settings are kind of low, and we're capped at 60 FPS with VSync on to help fight off stuttering. And to be honest, we might still have to turn some things down from here. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to go to a race over here to see if the game can keep the 60 FPS with these settings. If it can, that's pretty good. These are some decent settings. And I was in the middle of talking about how to make money on YouTube and how making a nice, long, informative video that informs the audience of things is actually not the easiest way to make money on YouTube. You would think it is, but it's not. You're much better off making a video that's not informative, so people have a bunch of questions, so they ask them in the comments, and you just get by on personality. Well, you get by on a couple things. You get by on personality, you get by on saying things that people want to hear, and you get by on showing things people want to see or what they think they want to see, right? Let's say you've got a graphics card that has no business playing a game at max settings. Well, a max settings video is going to get you more views than a best settings video, and it's hilarious. All right, it really is. Let's say you've got a GTX 960. What you should care about is what are the best settings to play this game at 60 FPS. But more people are going to tune in to see the max settings, all right? Because that's what they want to see. That everyone always thinks about max, 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 ultra, 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 uber, uber, uber if you're in Europe. So that's all people think about. So you make an uninformative video. You talk with a personality of some sort, like preferably a good one or a funny one or a friendly one, and you show people what they think they want to see, and that video is going to make more money for you than an actual video that they should probably see, where it's kind of a boring video, but you're telling them exactly how to make the game play perfectly for them on a GTX 960, you know, assuming that's the card that they have. By the way, we're keeping a solid 60 FPS here, which is not friggin' bad at all for this resolution. I'm actually very shocked. The thing is, it does not feel as smooth as it looks. I mean, it probably looks decent, but I'm having a little bit of trouble steering the car. It's not as smooth. Probably not ideal frame pacing. Here, let me take it off of VSync. See what it goes up to. Anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm not going to make this video too long. So if you actually did jump ahead to watch 1440p, you're going to get like the least amount of information. In the description of this video, there will be a link to another video that talks about the stutter the game can have. The game can actually stutter quite badly, even with a powerful card, even with the GTX 1080 overclocked, paired with a 6700K overclocked to 4.7 gigahertz, no less. The game can stutter on all systems. In the comments of my videos, there's a ton of people saying they have GTX 1080s and they're getting stuttering. So if the game does not stutter for you, awesome. But for a lot of people, it does. So I'll have a link taking you to a video that I did that's going to talk to you about how to deal with the stutter. If you watch the beginning portion of this video that you're watching now, I talk about the stutter there too. But the main focus of the beginning of this video is the general experience of playing this game in 1080p. That's why I started out with at the start of the game was 1080p. If you didn't see that, I showed the 980 Ti, overclocked, not overclocked, ultra, and best settings. Okay, so I showed a lot. And now we're looking at 1440p best settings. That's what this is. After this race, we'll do ultra. It probably won't be fantastic. If I was willing to mess with this right now, what I would do, I say willing to mess with it. Let me see. I got to restart the game if I change that. I'm not going to change the reflection. Huh. Let's see if I turn down the world car level of detail, if that keeps it smooth. Remember, we're getting 60 FPS with VSync on. It just doesn't feel like the frame pacing is quite right. And now we get past. Because I am a shoddy driver. So at the end of this race, I'm just going to... Actually, I'll do it now and see how it feels. Let me turn the VSync back on. Alright. Let's see if it feels any better. Although we're not even in the demanding part. I kind of want to restart the race, but I want to get my points. So I'm going to go ahead and finish it. Unfortunately, obviously, I'm not going to be able to feel how the game feels right here. Come on. Thank you. Now, it would be easier if I drive back to this race and do it again. I'm sure you guys don't want to watch that, though. Whoa. So hopefully when I get up here into the town, I'll feel it. I mean, we're driving on the beach now. This area right here is not demanding. This feels perfectly smooth. Remember, all we did was turn the car detail level down. And you saw those settings just a moment ago. If you need to, go back and pause and check them out. But we're about to go up to some pavement. I'll move the camera around a little bit, and hopefully without all these trees, there'll be more sun shining on the car. So you can see how it looks. Because even though this is not max settings, this is not ultra, this still looks good. It feels reasonable. Even when I was saying it didn't feel perfect before, it felt reasonable. I mean, what I would probably do is I would turn the world textures down if I felt like if you're playing with these settings right here and the game doesn't feel smooth enough for you at 1440p, the environment texture quality, I would turn that to high, right? And I know this mix of settings does not look impressive, I get that, but the proof is in the pudding. The game doesn't look like crap, all right? This is pretty good. It's pretty good looking. I mean, it's not perfect. You do have a bunch of settings turned down, but keep in mind, this is a game that launched with performance issues, and it's playing at a pretty solid 60 FPS. It is going to go below 60 from time to time, like it just went to 59 when I said it was a solid 60 FPS. But this is still mostly smooth. This is still mostly like really decent. I'll put it like this. If you're on the fence about buying the game because you're worried about performance, as long as the tricks that I show and talk about for dealing with stutter work for you, and as long as you use the settings that I'm showing you, like the experience I'm having right now, this level of beauty, this level of smoothness, I'm okay. I'm not angry. But I do want Microsoft to fix it. Turn 10, Playground Games, whoever you want to put the blame on, I do want them to fix it, because we should be able to turn our settings up, and we should be able to not have to artificially cap the frame rate at 60. See, if you have a 144 hertz monitor, you got a 2560 by 1440 144 hertz monitor, you're going to want to make a custom profile capping it at 60 FPS, because if you don't, you're probably going to have stuttering. You might not. You might get lucky and not have it, but I have. And a lot of other people have too. So as you can see with these settings, we can get 80, 90 frames per second, 70, just went down to 70 something. But still, now it went to 66, but you get the idea, right? Like, on one hand, you can cap it at 60, or you could potentially play it from 60 to 90 FPS. So, it would be nice if they would fix it. All right, I'm not going to let them off the hook. They need to fix it. But in the meantime, for the sake of enjoying the game, it's enjoyable right now. All right, assuming these tricks work for you. Remember, I have a link in the description. Plus, I pretty much described all the tricks earlier in the video. All right, go to Custom Preset Ultra. And then all we're going to do is restart the game. And we're going to do a quick little drive, like a really quick one. So let's go. Save and continue. Exit to desktop. Nice, big, long 980 Ti video. If you're wondering how the game runs 4K, actually, I can actually switch it to that. But I will only do it ever so briefly, because we are already 54 minutes into this. And I've already said a lot of what I have to say. See, I do a lot of videos on this channel. I've got over 500 videos. At least 400 of them are demonstrating games, but not even half have me commentating. This is one of the problems, is I test about a dozen graphics cards, 3 or 4 processors, and I test 1080p. Actually, I even test 720p. I test from 720p, 1080p, 900p, 1440p, and 4K. I test all of those. And as a result, I don't have enough commentary. I don't have enough things on my mind to say about that many cards and that many processors and that many resolutions. So it's a little skewed, right? Like some of you only care about 980 Ti performance. You don't watch all my videos. So you're getting an earful of commentary. And then for the GTX 960, I'll have no commentary whatsoever. And then I'll get comments that like, why did you not give commentary? Well, I've been fighting bronchitis for 3 weeks. So I sound pretty horrible. It's actually pretty hard to breathe. All right. Ultra, we're at 67 frames per second, but I wouldn't count on that staying that way. 64. Remember, Ultra includes MSAA times 4. So if you just tuned in and you're not aware yet, there's a lot of people who will tell you that just turning off MSAA fixes the stutter, and that's not true. And I've proven that's not true in other videos, and I discussed that earlier. That notion is coming from the fact that Digital Foundry said turning off MSAA helped them with the stutter. But guess what? They were using a Titan XP. So, dear Lord, yeah, you know, a Titan XP versus a 980 Ti. Well, maybe with the Titan XP, the only thing you got to do is turn off MSAA. But if you got a 980 Ti, brother, you're probably going to have to turn other settings down too. But that's the problem. Like, people do... I don't know. I get beyond exasperated with the way information gets spread. I was telling you guys earlier, before the 1440p segment started, that I was in the military and we talked about good information and bad information. We talked about doing things to task versus doing it to time or doing it to money. By the way, in case you can't tell, we went under 60 a whole bunch of times just now. So now I'm going to put on VSync and see if it'll keep 60. Probably not. No, it will not. All right, so like I said, Ultra is a little hard on this card. I would use the settings that you saw earlier. You're going to be way more likely to get 60 FPS that way. I don't even have to do this race. So there's just a lot of bad information out there. Somebody watched Digital Foundry, and Digital Foundry very clearly said that when they used the Titan XP in 4K, turning off MSAA fixed the stutter. That does not mean turning off MSAA in 1080p with a 980 Ti or 1440p with a 980 Ti is going to fix it. Watch. Let's turn off MSAA. See if it fixes it. I stand a chance of this making me look like an idiot. Sometimes when I do these live demonstrations, like the exact opposite of what I say will happen happens. But I'm going to take that chance. I'm going to take it. He says, as it's 59, 60 FPS perfectly. As he goes on and on about bad information and people not knowing what they're talking about. As he says this for 58 minutes. And then he turns off MSAA and looks like an idiot. Well, let's find out during the race. Also, this is not native 1440p. This is actually, we're using NVIDIA's DSR as evidenced by the 1080p recording. All right, so far it's reasonable. It's gone down to 56 frames per second. 54 frames per second, 52, 48, 50. I can't believe I'm rooting for a low frame rate right now, because yes, I am. Yes, I am that petty. I am rooting for a low frame rate right now, because I don't want to look like an idiot. Look, 49 frames per second, 44 frames per second. All right, let's turn VSync off. All right, let's make it a fair fight. Let's turn VSync off. Now, I firmly believe in native resolution testing, which is why I have two 1080p monitors, one at 60 hertz, because a lot of gamers use, look, it just VSync's off, it went to 53. Most people are using 1080p 60 FPS, like most desktop gamers. So I test on 1080p 60 FPS, but I also test at 1080p 144 FPS because in my mind it's not good enough for me to just turn VSync off and let the frame rate go up. I need to see what it really plays like for people on a real 144 hertz monitor, because you'd be surprised there is a difference. All your little YouTubers, I say little, a lot of these pro YouTubers, big time YouTubers, they're not playing native resolution. They're not playing native refresh rate, because the easiest thing you can do is get like a 4K monitor and then like down res, change it to 1080p and play it blurry. But then how are you going to really tell people how the game looks? And then it's actually they're 60 hertz monitors, the 4K ones right now. So then they turn VSync off and they're looking at all that screen tearing and everything, and they're trying to talk about how the game performs, but they're not going to be 100% accurate. Like, they can't really tell you how the game feels and how it really looks. There is a huge difference. One of these days I'm going to do an office tour for you guys. I've got like I said, a 60 hertz 1080p, a 144 hertz 1080p. I've got a 4K television. It's pretty decent. It didn't even cost that much money because I got it on sale, but it's still pretty decent. It's a Samsung. It's not like a Korean knockoff or something. I've got a really nice 1440p monitor, 144 hertz. And then I've got a really nice, really expensive 1080p TV that I got a few years ago. That was like out the wazoo expensive. And actually, that's like the least impressive thing I have to play on, sadly. It's a 60-inch TV. Like 1080p on a 60-inch TV is just not very great in my opinion. And not like 60 inches is the biggest in the world, but when I picked that, I knew I was picking 1080p. 4K was already out at the time, but it was like $5,000 for a 4K TV. And I knew 60 was pushing it. So why are you doing this? Sometimes you're just trying to fast travel and the game is like trying to make you do something else. Like it wants you to go race a train and you're like, no, I want to fast travel to a very specific part of the map. Let's see what the race is over here. Because in that last race, to be fair, just turning off MSAA did not keep 60 FPS, even when VSync was off. When you were in a pack of cars, it did not. Look, we just went down to 50 right now. It's part of the reason I went to Surfer's Paradise. 55, 54, 48, 53, right? So if you want a consistent 60 FPS experience, turning off MSAA doesn't fix it. Now, I'm actually really shocked that turning off MSAA has worked as well as it had, but keep in mind we're using NVIDIA's DSR plus, very importantly, this is an overclocked 980 Ti. And I told, if you just came in for the 1440p stuff in the video, I told the people earlier, I've got my case fans turned up to maximum right now. 49 frames per second, 50 frames per second, 55. So yeah, you're not going to get consistent 60 FPS just by turning off MSAA. Basically, what I try to tell people is if you want a rock solid locked 60 FPS, you normally have to choose settings that'll really get you a 75 to 80 FPS experience. So let's say you want a rock solid 60 FPS experience. What you really do is you change the settings to an 80 frames per second experience. That way, when there's dips and spikes and so on, you don't go below 60. See, we just went down to 52. And we're hanging on to 54. 48, 46, 46, 47 frames. Mad stutter right now. 39 frames per second. All right? So like I said, just turning off MSAA does not fix it. So what I was trying to tell you is my case fans are on max speed right now. I turned up the fan profile for my graphics card and it's overclocked to 1482 megahertz. So, and this is a stable overclock. As you can see, we're recording for a long time. It's totally fine. We're changing resolutions and everything and the game's fine. So we have a stable 1482 megahertz overclock. So yeah, the settings I showed you at the start of the 1440p section are the settings that I would personally use, no lie. That's what I would use. All right. If you want to have a kind of 60 FPS experience at ultra, because in your mind you feel like you need it to be ultra, then fine. Go ahead, put it on ultra, turn off MSAA, and then go on the internet and tell everybody that you're getting 60 FPS, because technically you kind of are, but you're not keeping 60 FPS, right? At least I'm not. And there's way too many threads on the official forums. There's way too many posts on 4chan, and there's way too many people commenting on all the YouTube videos saying that the game stutters for them, for there to not be a stuttering problem, right? Now, there's a chance the game doesn't stutter for you, and maybe you really do play at 1440p ultra settings, 60 FPS with your 980 Ti, and you know what? Good for you. Like, I'm happy for you. But for a lot of people, the settings that I showed at the start of 1440p, those are the settings you want to use. All right, so for my people who watched this entire video, hopefully my point has been made. My videos are long for a reason. I demonstrated a lot in this video. Ultra preset, best settings, alternate best settings, VSync on, VSync off, overclock, no overclock, 1080p, 1440p, 2 different hubs on the map, 2 different races on the map, open world driving. Okay, like when you come to my channel, I don't give you BS fluff. I don't give you average frames per second. Average frames per second are a scam. And the YouTubers who get away with making a living on YouTube, paying their rent with the money they make from YouTube, and all they give you is average frames per second, they should be ashamed of themselves. And you guys shouldn't let them do that. All right? They're not telling you the whole story. You're going to go out and buy, this is a $650 graphics card. And if you got the game early, it's a $100 game. You're going to pay $700 to play this game with a 980 Ti if you got it last week. You deserve the truth. You deserve to know it might stutter. And you deserve to know how to make it not stutter. And you deserve to see the difference between best settings and ultra settings. So when I make my videos, I'm not making them for me. I make them for you guys. All right? I hold my hand up and I swear that to you. Like, I make these videos so I can share with the PC gaming community how the hardware really works and how the games really play. All right? Hopefully you guys appreciate that. And if you do, tell everyone else about the work I'm doing over here. Forza Horizon 3 just launched. I already got a fix for the stutter. I already have a handle on how it performs on the 1060, the 1070, the 1080, the 980 Ti, the 962 gigabyte, the 964 gigabyte, and even the GTX 745. I'm not playing around over here. I do this for real. So thanks for watching, guys. If this is helpful for you, please spread the word. Thanks for watching. This has been AI Gaming 1776. You can check me out on Twitter, where I've been talking about how the game stutters since literally the night that the game launched. And I have a lot to say on there. I say way more on Twitter than I even say in my videos. So thanks for watching, guys. And there we go. I'm using 2 computers at the same time now, and I had to turn my head here. All right. Got it all lined up. If you're still here, thanks. I love you. All right. Have yourselves a good one. AI Gaming 1776, and have